It's a weekend of war tonight. On Newsbang. Spy vs. spy shenanigans near Dutch hooker heaven. Alligator ate pirates for breakfast off Cuba. And German cruiser lost in Cocos finds Australian boot. Plus, coming up, exclusive footage of a chimpanzee running for parliament in Burundi. His campaign slogan, "Vote Monkey, Get Banana Republic." Those are the headlines. Trash the TV, then trash the remote.
Newsbang. The sun's up but it's cloudy. My attitude, not the weather. Ulysses, 1939.
German intelligence officers have pulled off what experts are calling the most embarrassing spy cock-up since James Bond got his testicles caught in that rope swing. 2 British intelligence officers were lured to the Dutch border by promises of free bratwurst and a chance to meet Hitler's rebellious generals, only to find themselves caught in an elaborate trap involving 3 fake mustaches, a mechanical cow, and what witnesses describe as a very unconvincing Winston Churchill impersonator.
The operation, which took months to plan, succeeded when German agents convinced the British spies that they were meeting with anti-Nazi resistance fighters at a café called Definitely Not a Trap. Local resident Hans Schmidberger reported, "I saw the whole thing. The British spies arrived wearing matching bowler hats and carrying umbrellas. Dead giveaway, really."
The incident gave Hitler the excuse he needed to invade the Netherlands, claiming the Dutch had been harbouring suspicious men in bowler hats and people who drink tea at inappropriate times. British intelligence has since implemented new guidelines requiring all agents to wear lederhosen when operating in Germanic countries.
1822.
Naval incompetence has reached new depths as the USS Alligator, a vessel seemingly designed by drunk carpenters, attempted to engage 3 pirate ships while sitting so low in the water it could barely see over its own bow.
Lieutenant Allen, described by witnesses as a man with more courage than common sense, decided to chase pirates in what survivors called, basically, a floating garden shed. The resulting skirmish saw American sailors attempting to board enemy vessels using rowing boats and harsh language.
Merchant Captain Horatio Bungle, freed in the attack, said, "I've seen more organised chaos at a penguin's tea party. The pirates were laughing so hard they could barely aim their cannons."
The pirates eventually escaped, presumably due to their ships actually being able to float properly. Naval historians now cite this as the moment someone finally asked, "Should we perhaps build ships that don't sink themselves?"
Lieutenant Allen's last words were reportedly, "Next time, let's try bringing a proper bloody ship."
1914.
The Australian cruiser Sydney has engaged in maritime fisticuffs with the German vessel Emden near the Cocos Islands. Witnesses describe scenes of nautical violence not seen since someone dropped their ice cream in the Pacific Ocean last Thursday.
The German ship, described by survivors as quite pointy at both ends, had been terrorising Allied shipping lanes by asking vessels to please stop and hand over their cargo. Local fisherman Brucey Wallaby claims he saw the entire battle while dangling upside down from a palm tree. "Struth, mate, it was like 2 drunk kangaroos having a boxing match, except with more explosions and significantly more Germans."
The Sydney, armed with what experts describe as bloody big guns, demonstrated the fighting prowess of Australia's Navy, which until then had been primarily occupied with telling sharks to bugger off. The victory marks Australia's first naval triumph, leading to widespread celebrations and a 17% increase in people throwing shrimp on Barbies.
The German captain later admitted defeat, saying, "The Australian ship was unfairly equipped MIT actual weapons, whereas VE had mostly been relying on stern looks and aggressive hand gestures."
Newsbang. Veracity hailing in factual showers, rain downpour.
And now for the weather forecast. Here's our meteorological correspondent, Shakanaka Giles, with his uniquely pastoral take on atmospheric conditions.
All right, let's get to it then. Up north, the Great Lakes are in for a bit of a bluster, a right proper tempest, if you will. Winds howling like a pack of rabid hounds, waves crashing about like a gaggle of drunken sailors. Reminds me of that infamous white hurricane of a 13. A real doozy, that one. Took out 19 ships and 250 poor souls. Hopefully, the weather boffins have their act together this time, eh? Down south, a spot of the white stuff, a veritable blizzard of the frozen variety. Might want to bundle up, lest you get caught with your trousers down. Bit like that time old Granny Giles got stuck in a snowdrift. Bless her woolly socks. And in the middle, a bit of a mixed bag. Showers, sun, the whole kit and caboodle. Bit like my Aunt Mildred's Christmas pudding, you never quite know what you're going to get. Best keep that brolly handy, just in case. In summary then, a bracing breeze up north, a flurry down south, and a good old-fashioned British muddle in the middle. Stay safe out there, and that's all the weather.
(1822).
Well, it seems naval heroics and maritime mayhem collided off the coast of Cuba. The USS Alligator, despite being outgunned and outmaneuvered, engaged in a daring clash with 3 pirate vessels. Lieutenant Allen's tragic demise during the boarding action serves as a stark reminder of the perils faced by our naval forces. While the merchant vessels were freed, the pirates slipped away into the Caribbean mists, leaving behind a legacy that would reshape naval warfare forever. For more on this historical nautical nightmare, we cross to our war correspondent, Brian Bastable.
This is Brian Bastable reporting from the blood-soaked decks of the USS Alligator, where just moments ago, 3 pirate schooners emerged from the mists like demons from Satan's bathtub. The air is thick with grape shot and the screams of men who've forgotten which bits of themselves go where. Lieutenant Allen, brave soul, has just ordered us into the shallow waters in our small boats, a decision that fills me with the same confidence as a 3-legged horse in a steeplechase. The pirates are laughing at us from their schooners, all 14 of their guns trained on our position like angry metal fingers of doom. Oh, there goes Lieutenant Allen's hat, followed shortly by Lieutenant Allen. The poor man's just taken a round that would have stopped a charging rhinoceros. They're carrying him back now, leaving a trail of what I can only describe as his former insides becoming his outsides. The pirates are attempting to escape with their merchant prizes, but our brave boys are giving them the kind of reception usually reserved for mother-in-laws at Christmas dinner. The water around us has turned the color of claret, and I've just had to pause to remove someone's finger from my notebook. The Revenge is being abandoned now, her crew jumping ship like rats from a burning pantry. The other schooners are making their escape through waters so shallow you could wade through them with your socks on. This is the sort of naval warfare that would make Nelson himself reach for the brandy. Brian Bastable, Newsbang, somewhere off the coast of Cuba, trying desperately not to become fish food.
Day 1888.
On this day, in 1888, London's East End witnessed what would become the final chapter in the notorious Jack the Ripper saga. Mary Jane Kelly, a 25-year-old resident of Miller's Court, Whitechapel, met an end so grotesque that even our most hardened Victorian ancestors required smelling salts. The killer, breaking with his usual modus operandi of outdoor butchery, chose an indoor venue for his grand finale. For more on this gripping tale of Victorian violence, we cross to our crime correspondent Ken Schitt, who's been loitering suspiciously around Miller's Court.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing here in the blood-soaked streets of Victorian London, where humanity just hit rock bottom and started digging. Miller's Court, Whitechapel, a festering wound in the armpit of civilization, where last night some twisted bastard decided to write his name in gore. Mary Jane Kelly, just 25 years old, became the final masterpiece in this sick gallery of horror. The killer they're calling Jack the Ripper, a name that sounds like something from a penny dreadful, but carries the weight of pure evil. Took his time with this one, folks. 2 hours of unimaginable savagery in a single room that'll haunt investigators until their dying day. The police, bless their useless souls, are scratching their heads while this monster walks free. Witnesses? Sure, we've got witnesses coming out our ears, each one with a different story, each one probably as reliable as a chocolate teapot. This is the fifth victim, and Christ on a bicycle, it's the worst. The details are too grotesque for broadcast, but let me tell you this. What happened in that room wasn't murder, it was butchery. Pure, unadulterated, calculated butchery. To the killer, you sick son of a motherless goat, your reign of terror ends here. To the police, do your damn jobs. And to Mary Jane Kelly, may you rest in peace, because God knows you didn't get any in life. This is Ken Schitt, reporting from the gates of hell itself. Back to the studio.
1989.
Berlin now, where East German officials have apparently misread their own memo and accidentally reunified Germany. Yes, in what can only be described as the most consequential clerical error since Napoleon's secretary wrote "invade Russia" instead of "invest in Prussia." The Berlin Wall is coming down. East German spokesman Günter Schabowski, in what appears to be a catastrophic case of not reading his notes properly, has triggered the most significant geographical restructuring since someone decided to separate Pangaea. For more on this monumental mishap, we cross live to our political correspondent Hardeman Pesto, who's standing in what used to be East Berlin, or West Berlin, or possibly both.
Martin, I'm here with Dr. Klaus von Schnitzelbunker, expert in concrete partitions and divisional infrastructure. Dr. Schnitzelbunker, would you say this is the biggest wall-related news story of the century?
Well, this is certainly unprecedented in terms of...
Pesto, are you aware the wall is actually coming down right now?
Yes, Martin. And Dr. Schnitzelbunker was just explaining how the East German construction industry will benefit from all these renovation contracts.
Renovation? They're smashing it to pieces with sledgehammers.
Dr. Schnitzelbunker, your thoughts on these innovative demolition techniques?
This is not renovation. This is revolution. The people are...
Fascinating stuff about concrete mixing techniques there, Dr. Martin. I can exclusively reveal that East German officials are considering a fresh coat of paint for spring.
Pesto, there are thousands of people climbing over it right now.
Yes, Martin, and I'm told these informal inspection teams are providing valuable feedback on structural integrity.
They're not inspection teams, they're escaping to the west.
Dr. Schnitzelbunker, would you say this represents a new phase in East-West architectural collaboration?
I must go now. My family is waiting on the other side.
And there you have it, Martin. A clear indication that the wall will need at least 3 new coats of weather-resistant paint.
Pesto, thank you. That was our Berlin correspondent, determinedly missing the point of history as it happens right in front of him.
And then Newsbang, smearing the black and white of factuality across reality's grey canvas. 1967.
And on this day in 1967, a magazine was born that would change the face of journalism forever, or at least make it grow rather impressive sideburns. Rolling Stone magazine launched with barely enough money to buy a decent guitar amplifier, featuring John Lennon on its cover, though sources claim he wasn't aware he was being photographed at the time. The magazine went on to become the voice of a generation, though quite which generation remains hotly disputed. For more on this cultural phenomenon, we cross live to our culture correspondent, Smithsonian Moss, who's standing outside a newsagent's in Hammersmith.
Now, at this point of the evening, we welcome listeners on FM who've just joined us.
Whoa, Newsbang Nation. It's your girl, Smithsonian Moss, and I'm here to dish out the dirt on the birth of the almighty Rolling Stone magazine. Now, I know what you're thinking. Smithsonian, why should I care about some old magazine? Well, let me tell you, this rag was the OG, the granddaddy of them all, the one that made music journalism cool. It all went down on November 9, 1967, when Jan Wenner and Ralph J. Gleason decided to join forces and create a magazine that would shake the very foundations of the music industry. And boy, did they ever. With a startup investment of a whopping $0, 7 cents, they managed to crank out a debut issue that would make even the most seasoned hipster weep with envy. But here's the thing, folks. Wenner and Gleason weren't just any ordinary dudes. Oh no, they were the epitome of cool, the dynamic duo of the counterculture movement. They were like 2 peas in a pod, except one pea was a bit more, well, let's just say, experienced than the other. Now, I know you're all dying to know what was on the cover of that first issue. Well, let me tell you, it was none other than the infamous John Lennon, looking like a total boss, as per usual. I mean, who wouldn't want to put a Beatle on the cover of their magazine? It's like the ultimate seal of approval, right? But what really set Rolling Stone apart from the rest was its irreverent attitude, its willingness to push boundaries and take risks. It was like the enfant terrible of the music industry, always causing a ruckus and stirring up controversy. And let's be real, folks, that's what made it so darn cool. So, there you have it, a brief history of Rolling Stone magazine. It's been a wild ride, full of ups and downs, but one thing's for sure, it's still the gold standard of music journalism. And if you don't like it, well, as the great philosopher Mick Jagger once said, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Word.
Newsbang, tearing the wrappers off the cold, hard truths of the day.
And finally, let's take a look at tomorrow's headlines. The Times: Crusaders go balmy in Zara siege. There's a picture there of a big cross. The Telegraph lead with Angola says goodbye to Portugal, hello to MPLA. That's a long headline. And the Mail go with British forces hammer Surabaya after Brigadier's death. There's a map there of Indonesia. The Express opt for tomorrow's weather, more rain and wind. That's it. And that's all from us tonight. Join us again tomorrow for more Newsbang. Until then, good night and good luck.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. Newsbang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.